having a well-made tent can make a less than ideal experience, well, much more enjoyable. And so after using this SlingFin Portal 1 tent throughout a handful of trips over the last few months, well, I found that it was not only a cozy home away from home, but also comes with a few unique features that really sets this one-person tent apart from others. All right, let's dive into it. All right, so before getting my hands on this tent, I actually never really heard of SlingFin before, which does consist of a team of just 3 in Berkeley, California. So SlingFin was spearheaded by Martin Zemitis, who also co-founded Mountain Hardwear, and he crafted tents for Sierra Designs and the North Face. So following Columbia's acquisition of Mountain Hardwear, Martin embarked on his own journey, and that's where SlingFin was born. The employee-owned, self-funded brand is, well, dedicated to using top-notch materials and incorporating user feedback in their designs, including super extreme conditions. And, well, that's exactly what we endured in the Portal 1 this past year. And we will dive into that here soon. But first, I just want to take a quick moment to let you all know that this video is supported in part by OneUp USA. OneUp USA combines superior materials and craftsmanship with a keen understanding of what you need to get your bike and gear to your next adventure. Whether you're an enthusiast, weekend warrior, or a pro cyclist, the result is simple, durable, no hassle racks and accessories that you can trust will last for the long haul. So no matter what you ride, your bike deserves OneUp USA. So to learn a little bit more about their Made in the USA range of bike racks and accessories, click on the card in the top right corner, or you can also follow the link in the description below. All right, so the SlingFin Portal 1 is a lightweight, single-person, single-door, 3-season freestanding tent. The tent comes with a body, fly, 10 stakes, 8 guy lines, and is made with a cross-pole hubless pole system using 2 sets of straight DAC or DAC featherweight poles. When folded up, those poles come in at 13.5 inches or 34 centimeters, so they definitely pack in nicely in a frame bag or a top loader. SlingFin mentions they made short poles for convenience of all activities, not just bike packing. So the system comes in at 2 pounds, 12 ounces with 4 external guy lines installed and without their stuff sacks. The tent body is constructed of a 15D nylon no-seam mesh with a bathtub kind of style floor made with a PE-coated 20D nylon. So the fly is made from a 10D 66 ripstop sill nylon. So for reference here, there are basically 2 different types of nylons used on gear like this, 6 and 66. So nylon 6 is made of a single monomer and nylon 66 is made with 2 monomers. Nylon 6 is less abrasion and UV resistant, absorbs more water, and has lower tear strength than nylon 66. In addition, SlingFin opted to use silicone-coated fabric for both sides of the fly here, mentioning that silicone coatings are longer lasting, more abrasion and UV resistant, have increased tear strength, and are also virtually immune to mold and mildew growth. Finally, SlingFin uses a PE-coated floor because they say they have longer lasting lifespan and have better long-term waterproofness. All right, so nylon fabrics are a common tent material. However, I guess the generalization, at least for me, over the last few years is that polyester has better UV and stretch resistance. So I was intrigued when the team at SlingFin, who certainly kind of seems a little obsessed with finding the best fabrics for their tents, did a UV and tensile strength test with several different fabrics. And without kind of getting into the weeds too much here, they found the UV damage occurs rapidly, basically to all tent fabrics of all different weights. Yet the 10D nylon was exceptionally UV resistant, maybe because it was that type 66 nylon and not 6, but the 40D nylon 66 they tested fared significantly worse. In any event, I will link the whole analysis in the description below. All right, so to better understand the Portal 1, the setup will definitely give you a good glimpse. So after finding a flat spot, which is certainly not too hard with this one-person tent, as opposed to, say, a 2, 3, or 4 person mid-style tent, you will stake down 4 stakeouts with the built-in pole grommets. Install the pole system into those grommets and then attach the clips installed on the tent body to the tent pole system. Then install that cross pole on the top into those webbing holders, which then basically completes the setup of the tent body. So if you are using the fly, you will want to find the color coordinated cords at the bottom of the fly with the corresponding color coordinated bits on the body, and that will help you install the fly properly. From there, install the fly toggles on the top of the tent to the O-rings on the tent body and continue down the line on each pole. SlingFin says they're not actually necessary, but they are helpful to manage wind condensation and moisture better. After that, install the cords on the corner of the fly to the hooks on the body, stake out the sides of the fly, and then tension the 4 corners of the fly. Overall, the tent setup was very intuitive. Now, taking the tent down is just as easy, although if you don't have patience like me, undoing those fly toggles from the O-rings does make it a bit more frustrating. Because, however, of that freestanding nature of the tent, I definitely could easily unstake the body from the ground and kind of flip it on its side to get any unwanted debris out of the tent. And packing this thing down is super easy and really actually packs pretty good. Well, not as small as, say, the Mountain Hardware Nimbus one that I recently tested. I never actually felt like the body or the fly was too large, but the poles certainly do take up a little bit more space than other systems out there. While not 100% necessary, if you are in a very windy area, you can install the guy lines from a multitude of guy out points on the tent, which I ended up testing in a high wind scenario, and they worked out really, really well, especially paired with their internal guy lines, but more on that soon. So the tent fly comes with a buckle at the bottom to ensure a nice, secure closure, and a zipper hood and Velcro to ensure proper moisture control and closure. The tent also comes with a kickstand for high condensation kind of scenarios. This is to basically help the tent breathe a little bit more when necessary. So the vestibule and door either opens up with just the one door with a cord lock and loop on this side, but it also allows you to open up the whole thing with another cord lock and loop on the other side so that you can kind of open up the whole vestibule, let the whole tent breathe a little bit more for mornings, bigger views. It's really quite nice. All right, so moving to the inside of the tent. So this vestibule area is certainly big enough to store belongings, bags, and shoes, or even cook in, but the body of the tent is really where all the magic is. So it comes with this huge kind of U-style shape zipper that runs from the top all the way to the bottom, giving you a massive kind of door for easy entry or exit. It comes with 2 different zipper pulls, but SlingFin didn't stop there. So from experience, they mentioned that zippers are the first thing to wear out. So they added pre-installed spare zipper sliders in the event they do break, which is super cool. So the main compartment also has a cord and lock to basically hold up the tent fly door. All right, so maybe the most exciting thing about this tent is the guy lines that are installed inside. So once I got in the tent, I was like, what are these things? But then I looked it up and they are said to add more lateral stability without much extra weight. While they are only installed on the foot, they do actually have extra spots inside the tent for your head side. And while they worked really well for storage or hanging clothes to dry out, the purpose was certainly more structural. So their thoughtful placement of the internal guy line attachments and the fly toggle attachments and the external guy line attachments, they all kind of work together to reinforce the poles during high wind events or events such as snow. So speaking of storage, the tent comes with loads of internal pockets. In fact, there's 7 pockets total, 2 at the top, 1 at the foot, 4 near the head of the tent, and there are 4 O-rings at the top of the tent for hanging lights, clothes, and other hangable items. So not only are there many thoughtful features on the Portal 1, but there are also loads of usable space on the Portal 1. So the tent's footprint measures 88 inches or 224 centimeters by 35 inches or 89 centimeters at the head, and 28 inches or 71 centimeters at the foot. Paired with a 41 inch or 104 centimeter internal height. And when you get in this tent, it feels like an oversized one-person tent. Not necessarily side to side, but certainly in terms of headroom. So I'm 5'9.5" or 176 centimeters, and when sitting up in the tent or lying down, there's plenty of space for me. And I even had my buddy Dave sit and lie down in the tent, and he's 6'4" or 193 centimeters. And I was surprised with how much room he had. It's undoubtedly one of the roomiest one-person tents that I have tried. And SlingFin accomplished this with their past vertical sidewalls and overall pole architecture. Generally speaking, it makes for a more enjoyable experience to live in and get in and out of, but even super tall people like Dave will probably have a hard time getting in and out. But for me, it was pretty darn easy with minimal rub on the fly due to the high ceiling of the structure. All right, so sleeping without the fly was very comfortable. The tub kind of style base helped keep light winds out, while the full mesh upper certainly kind of really opened up things more so than most other one-person tents that I've used, creating a very breathable scenario while also keeping bugs out on warm nights. But for the most part, I slept with the fly installed for added warmth and to keep the elements out. So I tend to bike pack in rather dry climates, but that doesn't mean condensation certainly won't occur on nights below freezing or close to. And while I never used the kickstand, I never actually felt like the tent holds loads of moisture. If you are looking for a lighter setup, you can actually ditch the tent body and set it up with just the rainfly and ground cloth. I didn't get a chance to test the tent with the ground cloth, but I have done this with other freestanding tents out there, and it really is a great option. So the Portal 1 endured plenty of windy nights without external guidelines being used, but with the internal guidelines, you can safely leave those external guidelines at home on relatively good weather trips. But if you want to add them to, I'd say, be safe, they weigh next to nothing, and attaching just say 4 does a pretty solid job of holding the tent down in very high winds, which I did on a very high wind day in my backyard here. Speaking of the elements, the tent endured a full-on storm for hours on end in southern Arizona one evening. With plenty of wind and tons of rain. And I think it was probably one of the longest storms that I've endured in a tent in some time. The full coverage fly certainly helped shed water really well, and the seams kind of kept water out even without the seams being sealed. Silicone coating can't actually be seam taped easily, so SlingFin actually offers tents to be seam sealed for an additional $30 USD. My tent, however, did not have this done, but I actually didn't have any issues with water penetrating or the tent wetting out. All right, so how does this compare to other tents? Well, for starters, the Portal 1 is on par for weights in its class, but has many more features than most other tents. However, those do come at a cost, with the Portal 1 coming in at $460 USD or $490 with the seam seal. The 88-inch or 223.5 centimeter length of the Portal 1 is the longest in the bunch of tents that we have tested in this category, along with the Big Agnes Copper Spur, which has similar widths but does come in 3 inches or 7.6 centimeters shorter than the Portal 1, and it comes in at 2 pounds 6 ounces or just over 1 kilogram at a $430 USD price tag. So the Nemo Dragonfly Osmo 1 has similar footprint specs with a 40-inch or 101.6 centimeter peak height, weighs 2 pounds 10 ounces or 1.2 kilograms, and also comes in at $430 USD. And finally, the Mountain Hardwear Nimbus 1 was another really excellent offering in this specific category, and it's certainly a little bit more compact, but it has had some significant fly stretch over time. But it is $400 USD, so it's nearly $100 USD less than the Portal 1. When I set up a tent right away, often there might be 1 or 2 questions, or maybe a head-scratching moment, or maybe I set it up and it just doesn't really look all that right, and I repitch the tent. But on my first pitch of the Portal 1, there were no questions. And in fact, each of the following experience with this tent was positive. The attention to detail from, say, the usable space, the overall craftsmanship, the stability, and the practical features certainly lend itself to being one, if not the best one-person tent that I have used. And while I've only tested this tent on a handful of trips over the last 6 months, I have noticed very little stretch in the fabric. And while it certainly could be lighter and maybe a little bit less expensive, it is worth the price for what you are getting. So, what are your thoughts on the SlingFin Portal 1? Do you dig the attention to detail and all these features? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and if you like what you saw in this video and want to see more like it, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And if you want to help support us a little bit more, you can do so by signing up for the Bikepacking Collective. The Collective offers a lot of awesome perks, including industry discounts, monthly giveaways, and the twice yearly Bikepacking Journal. So to learn a little bit more about the Bikepacking Collective, you can click on the card in the top right corner, or also follow the link in the description below. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, pedal further.